Howdy and welcome to Posted. This month in our September Members Spotlight, we speak with Josh Gray. He's a manager at Graham Land and Cattle out of Gonzales, Texas. Josh gives us a great history of Graham Land and Cattle, along with the new research and developments that they are taking on during these times of cattle prices, increases, decreases, food supply, and all the good things that go along with an animal feed yard. So let's send it over to Josh. All right, folks, we're here today with Josh Gray with Graham Land and Cattle. And Josh is the guy that kind of runs some things around here that we're very interested in. So, Josh, tell us about the history of Graham Land and Cattle, how it all got started, and where it is today.
Yeah. So, Graham Land and Dr. Charles Graham, he bought the feed yard, kind of in the late 80s. And prior to that, this operation was an order buying operation. So, used to be Harold Cattle Company, and they had a large order buying operation, and bought up calves from all over South Texas and brought them here, sorted them, and then resold them. And that business, that started in the late 60s, throughout the 70s, and into the 80s. And so when Dr. Graham took it over, shortly after that, we started to expand into full finished feed yard.
Gotcha.
That was probably in the early 90s, along with the expansion of the packing industry. We found out that it was profitable to feed cattle in South Texas, based on the cattle and based on some of the other attributes that we have down here in resources.
Gotcha.
And that's one thing that Dr. Graham has allowed this business to grow and to be able to acquire those resources that it takes to be profitable in South Texas. Because we have two phases to this operation. We have a pasture operation, and we have a finish operation. So, we've got about 3,500 acres that we develop cattle on. So, and then there's another 3,000 or so that we lease and do the same thing. So, we have a little different mentality from larger commercial feed yards. That revolves around the pasture and some of the feed products that are available to us.
Gotcha.
To grow these cattle out on the pasture. There's our goal, is to, try to help our customers, in making management decisions. If they're ranching customers or they are, cattle traders that put cattle together, put different groups together, we try to help them, make sure that's going to be a profitable investment. So we try to help advise them, and we also feed a certain number of the cattle ourselves. In our mentality, we try to help translate that to some of our customers that best fits their needs. We look at a lot of lightweight cattle, say 450 and under, and that's sort of our focus, and we handle a lot of cattle like that, and those are the cattle that best fit our the operation and the resources that we have here. Now, that's not to say that we don't take in larger cattle. We do that just for our operation. And what works best is we have a mentality here of seeing those little cattle and not seeing risk. We see opportunity. So we can put a pound of gain on for cheaper than you can buy it. So it's our goal is to try to capture those cattle, secure those cattle, buy them. We partner with a lot of people and try to get those cattle in here as light as we can, so they can be on our system as long as we can, so that we can control the costs and control the profitability at the end.
Gotcha. And when you talk about your location here in Gonzales, Is there a particular type of cattle? I mean, I know down here you're going to have a little bit more ear on them and everything. Is that something that you find that you guys kind of stick to, or?
Sure. Well, we feed all kinds. We've got all different breeds. We have the capabilities of feeding any animal that walks in the door here. Now I will say that we are in South Texas, and that lends itself to a certain type of animal more times than not. So we are very heavily involved in the Brahman influence cattle. That's a staple of central South Texas and all along the Gulf Coast. And we know how to feed them.
Yeah.
And that's you go out in the country and you see the cows that are in the country, and they're going to have some ear on them. They're going to be Brahman influence, and those are the kind of cattle that do the best here. We have a lot of, I would say, 3/4 of the feed yard is going to be some Brahman influence.
Gotcha. And when you then take them on to the next level, what kind of weight are you guys looking at, or what do you think is the optimal weight for what you guys do?
Yeah, so every group of animal is different. We have some averages and things like that, and those aren't things that you can that are definite every time. So when you ask me what the optimal weight is, and I would ask you to define that for what animal, what time of year. It's all different, but in general, on let's just say an F1 steer, I mean, you got to understand that we're hand feeding these cattle every day, and that's part of the technology that's involved in what we're doing from a nutritional standpoint, and from a hardware and software standpoint. So, every morning we're reading bunks, and we're making feed calls for these cattle every day, twice a day, and that, like I said, every pen of cattle is different. Even the same cattle that we see year in and year out from the same ranch can be different, based on how the cattle got treated before they got to us, the weather. I mean, that has a big factor in how we feed those cattle and these target weights. So, and we have a nutritionist that we contract with, Nutrition Service Associates, and they've been feeding cattle, helping us feed cattle here for a long time, and know this area and know our system. So, we do look at, we try to let the cattle dictate when they're ready. Now we do have projections, and we can do some of those things. That's involved in some of our risk management and planning, and when these cattle are going to come out. But I'd say the target goal is going to be somewhere, between 1275 and 1350, on an F1 steer.
Gotcha.
That's going to be our end goal. Now that as far as days on feed and things like that, that's going to be determined by the weight and age of that animal when they come into full feed. That goes back to part of our our growing phase of this operation, and those cattle being out on pasture, and getting those cattle to a certain weight, because we can, there are times that we can speed that up or slow that down. We have a lot of opportunity to affect those cattle when you get them at an early age. So based on planning, or when the customer may want those cattle to come out, we can adjust that somehow.
That's great. Now, you had mentioned technology, and you and I were talking before. One of the questions I wanted to ask you, there's always, some kind of equation going on. I remember one of my first trips to a feed yard. There was some big screen TVs sitting in this office, and I was wondering if they were catching a game, but it wasn't. You guys watched commodities and everything like that, and I think it's one of those maybe behind the scene things that a lot of people don't know about, or they just kind of let you guys go at it. But can you tell me what kind of things you guys are looking at when those screens or commodities and things are changing hands?
Right. So and that would be we call it in the industry risk management. You're going to manage your inputs, which would be corn or soybeans or anything that feed yards may use. But predominantly, what we do here is feed corn. So and we're using it's some of the same technology and the same principles that the industry has had since the beginning. For the last 80 years, I guess. But some of the same principles, it just gets delivered in a different manner. And it gets delivered a lot faster these days. So
absolutely.
I think there's a tremendous amount of information out there. And me first starting in this industry and graduating from college, I felt like I knew something, but when you start working and there's information coming at you, you realize that you don't know much. So, it takes some time to try to develop your own, technology information sources that allows you to do the best job that you can, because there's a lot of information out there that's not relevant at all.
Correct.
And there's a lot of different technologies that are out there, and they may be useful to a certain extent, but you really, when you get into a business and you learn you learn the ins and outs, you tend to gravitate towards the different types of information technology that can really help you improve, and then help you advise customers and those kind of things. But some of those, like I said, the commodity business hasn't changed a whole lot. It's just gotten a lot faster and a lot more volatile. But there's things that we do seasonally that you call them tried and true things that you use. Things that they don't necessarily develop in the same way every year, but they're going to develop somehow.
Yes.
And you want to make sure that you've got the right pieces of technology, the right information coming to you on a regular basis, so that you can keep up with that. Like I said, you try to pick and choose the technology that's going to help you and the information that's going to help you, because you're also this feed yard. We do a lot of business with different research institutions, different universities, different ag universities, different producer groups, breed groups, try to help develop, cattle, try to help develop marketing plans, try to help develop, anything that we can possibly do. And we attract a lot of those people, and we lean on them also for information. It's just, it's a very small world, this cattle feeding world. And you are in competition with people, and that makes you better, but you also got to work with everybody, and the type of information that we get and the type of research that comes out of these ag universities like Texas A&M, Sam Houston State, Stephen F. Austin, Texas State, and San Marcos. I mean, you got a lot of very talented people that they're pushing the envelope every day, and the feed yard's not afraid of technology, not afraid of change. It's just, most of the time technology's not made for the outdoors. It's an outdoor sport, so
absolutely.
We kind of got to let technology catch up to what we're doing. So,
I wanted to ask you about Dr. Graham and what's some of the best advice that he's ever given to you?
That might be a loaded question there, but no, I mean, Dr. Graham, he's a very unique individual, and I've been given an incredible opportunity here to do what I do, and I appreciate all of that, and I try to take advantage of that, not in a negative sense, but if there's something there, somebody I need to talk to. One thing that he's he knows his customer. He knows his business. He's part of the foundation of the cattle business in South Texas. So it's one of those things that when he's behind you, you tend to you try to give that extra 110%. Then there's really nothing else you can do. I mean, that for me specifically, I grew up in this business and I have a long history here. So my experiences are different from a lot of different people's experiences. So I not that it really means anything to anybody else, but my grandfather worked here. My dad and my uncles, they all grew up here, working in this industry. They're cattlemen, and that's part of who I am, whether I like it or not. So, I just I try to take advantage of that, and that's one thing. Dr. Graham has offered that opportunity to me, and as he's been doing to lots of different lots of different individuals, lots of different students. I mean, just the kind of vision that he has for education in general is surprising. Just for education and young people, we do host interns here every year, and people, he comes with a certain expectation, whether they've even ever met him or not, and I think that's translated through this operation. I know one person here that I've learned a lot from is our feed yard manager, Maurice Yonda.
Yeah.
And he's been here 28 years now, and there's nobody else that works harder than him up here, and that's something that Dr. Graham he's good at reading people, and I think I know Maurice has taught me a lot, and all I've had to do is pay attention and do what I'm told, So that's part of growing up, but Dr. Graham provides us a certain amount of support here, and even outside of this operation that helps us do our job every day. So,
and speaking about advice, is there any kind of advice you would give to some of our members that what they could do to possibly, if they're bringing cattle to a feed yard, what is something that they can do that you see day in and day out that somebody can maybe fix or tweak just a little bit to make their program a little bit better to bring their cattle to the feed yard?
Yeah, sure, and that's something I being in this business and talking to lots of different folks, lots of different ranchers, lots of different operations. We always try to be an extension of the ranch and operation. There's not one thing that's going to work every year.
Yeah.
And if there's any advice that I would give would be to have some forethought in that operation about what you're going to do with those cattle, whatever cattle that you may happen to raise. We don't discriminate as far as breed types here. If they eat feed, we'll take them, but it's planning, and I think that's just with everything. You can't just wake up every morning and walk out on the front porch with your coffee and just say, well, what are we going to do today? That's not that that's not romantic, and that happens in the movies a lot, but just have a little forethought and a little planning, because the market does change. There's long-term weather events can change that, and there's so many factors that go into that. But you have a plan, and the most important plan, aside from plan A or plan B or plan C, is going to be your exit strategy. Exactly. That's probably the most important plan. But in the feed yard industry, I'm not going to quote any numbers, but I would say the majority of the cattle that are born and raised in the U.S. end up in a feed yard somewhere.
Yes.
Because just there's a tremendous amount of cattle that get fed, get processed every single week in the United States. 500,000 plus, depending on the year, we process every week. So that's a tremendous amount of moving parts, and you may feel somewhat disconnected if you're a small rancher. Say you got 20 to 30 head, but you're not disconnected from that. You're a part of that.
Exactly.
There's operations like this like Graham Landing Cattle. We're not a huge feed yard like you go up into the Panhandle and places like that, which gives us the ability to maneuver and kind of help a lot of the smaller guys as well as the larger ones. But just having a little forethought and a little bit of planning, with what you're going to do with your cattle, and it's not just a calf on the ground.
Yeah.
It's a bull calf or it's a heifer calf, and that heifer calf, the planning for that animal hitting the ground, probably had to at least start 5 years ago, with the female and the bull, and so you just don't want to, you want to put just as much thought into marketing that animal as you do raising your cow herd or trying to find a new bull or something like that. There's a lot of, that it doesn't stop when that calf is born, or it doesn't stop when you pull that calf off and wean that calf or anything like that. Now, there's lots of different programs out there, as far as, vaccination programs and, value added type things, which there is some value there. It may not be as transparent as some people would like, just all the general things that the industry has proven that helps produce a better calf. Well, if you're not going to feed that animal, which is fine, and you're going to send them to the sale barn or some kind of private treaty, sell the cattle out of the pasture, just know that that price, you're getting that price for a reason. It's
Absolutely, yes.
I mean, it's not just some arbitrary number. You may have background these calves and gone through a back 45 program and maybe registered and they got all the bells and whistles. But if the timing is not there, then the price is not going to be there. So, and like I said, this operation, we act as we try to act as an extension of the ranching operation. I don't want to tell you that, oh yeah, you're gonna send your cattle here and we'll feed them for 50 cents and you're going to make $500 a head. I'm not going to tell you that because, I don't want you to send me all your cattle. I want you to send me a few of them. You get familiar with the business, and we go forward, and I don't want to make a customer out of you for a year. I want you to send cattle to me for the next 20 years.
Yes.
So we don't. And that's one thing that I think other operations may not be inclined to do, but we're going to answer the phone and we're going to talk to you and we're going to listen and help you try to develop your ideas.
And so basically, it's building a relationship.
Right.
So if somebody wanted to build a relationship with you guys, website, phone number, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah. So you can they can find us on grahamfeedyard.com. We've got a page there that's got some information. We've got futures quotes on there. There's some links to show our location. We've got phone numbers on there. You can call the office number. All of our cell phone numbers are on there. Call the cell phone. We're highly receptive to customers, and like I said, trying to develop ideas. If somebody's got a new idea, we try to help develop that. So.
And give me that website one more time.
Yeah, it's grahamfeedyard.com, and we're also on Instagram and Twitter.
Okay.
So,
keeping up with the times.
Yep.
Josh, thank you so much for visiting with us today. I appreciate your time as always, and we look forward to seeing you down the road here at Short Course. And I know our members are going to be happy to visit with you there also. So thank you again. All right. That's it, man. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. We appreciate your time today. We invite you all to check out Graham Land and Cattle out of Gonzales, Texas. Check out thecattlemanbuyersguide.com/posted to listen to the September podcast with this interview.